So I was tweeted this interesting little news item earlier today by @AFIXJS. Creepy headline, and it links to this Washington Post article from earlier today. Presidents, prime ministers may age faster and die sooner. And this links to a BMJ British Medical Journal article. Do heads of government age more quickly? Observational study comparing mortality between elected leaders and runners-up in national elections of 17 countries. Which talks about a phenomenon you've probably heard about before. It's been talked about in the press before, the graying of the presidents, or do presidents age faster in office? You may have seen some of these photo comparisons before and after getting into office, where some of these misleaders look like they've aged 20, 30 years rather than 4 or 8 years or whatever it is, which is an interesting idea. Well, apparently there is actually something to it. So from this Washington Post article, doctors analyzed how long presidents and prime ministers in 17 countries, including Britain, Canada, France, Germany, and the US, survived after leaving office compared to the losing candidates. They also observed the number of years that heads of state lived versus what was expected for someone of the same age and gender. After considering the fates of 279 heads of state and 261 runners-up, they concluded former leaders lived for almost 3 fewer years than expected. Well, that's interesting. So our first reaction may be the kind of tongue-in-cheek reaction that I had to the tweet, creepy headline or good news next week. But, well, I mean, let's not play into what is ultimately going to be the type of explanation they offer for this, which is leaders probably felt national priorities were much more pressing than eating right and exercising, leading to stress eating, or the stress of leading a country could accelerate the graying of hair and wrinkling of skin. Because, of course, these are the people making the tough decisions, so of course they're just going to age so much more rapidly. Their hair is going to gray, and they're going to wither away on the inside because of the enormous amount of stress they're facing. Because after all, let's not forget,
but I'm the decider, and I decide what is best, and what's best is for...
I'm the decider. You might remember that became something of a meme, as critics, I think, rightly took Bush to task for the ridiculousness of that statement. I'm the decider, I make the decisions. But really, why did people mock that statement? Isn't that what we have all been trained to believe? Isn't that what everyone, almost everyone in this society really does believe at base? Isn't that sort of the bias that we all have? These puppet figurehead establishment mouthpieces are actually deciding things. They're the ones making the decisions. They're the ones leading the country. And that's why they're so stressed. Oh, poor decider. Won't someone think of the president? Well, I mean, let's see how that's reflected in just headlines that we see every single day and don't even think twice about. This one from the Washington Post last week. How many terrorists has President Obama actually taken out? Probably over 30,000. There is enough propaganda in this headline alone to probably unpack over the course of 3 or 4 videos, but for the sake of this video, the point is, President Obama is personally taking out 30,000 quote-unquote terrorists. Yes, it's not the military, or more aptly, the military-industrial complex and the people behind it that are taking out the quote-unquote terrorists. It's President Obama, as if he's barehanded going in there and ripping people apart limb from limb, because he's our fearless leader in this alpha primate society that we're part of, right? And they even quote the Joe Biden 2012 quip, Bin Laden is dead and General Motors is alive, because let's not forget, guys, Obama killed Osama, right? Again, attributing to the president things which the president did not personally do, but he's the decider, so ultimately, he gets the credit and the blame, and whether we're heaping praise or scorn and vitriol on him, we are playing into that paradigm. And it's a paradigm that, again, is so completely internalized we hardly think twice about it, but it becomes more apparent when we see the iconography that surrounds these dear misleaders of ours. The Newsweek fixation with Obama in 2010, of course, they made him into Shiva, god of all things, or in 2012, they put this angelic rainbow halo around him because he's the first gay president. Or this special double issue on the new global elite, where he is literally the face of the global elite, the establishment mouthpiece puppet face, which is probably more apt than Newsweek was intending, although probably not for the reasons they intended. Or in 2008, Rolling Stone similarly put this angelic beatific light around him as if he's a saint. Oh, Barack Obama, a new hope. We know how that turned out. And, of course, this is reflected in, every country on the planet. Wherever you are, just insert your puppet leader of choice in there. I'm in Japan, so of course it's Abe. Super Abe coming to the rescue. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Japan. It's Shinzo Abe and Abenomics and the remilitarization of Japan and the magic yen from heaven that's going to save the Japanese economy. Oh, well, we all know how that turned out by this point, don't we? So this is such a cartoonish, childish understanding of the way things work. Even those in the mainstream thinking, let alone people who understand how the world really works, would understand and would admit, no, it is not the president personally doing all of this. But it's just so internalized. It's so much a part of the idea that keeps us going back to the voting booth every 4 years to pull a lever or check a box, as if that's going to be the thing that changes society fundamentally, because after all, the leader is the decider and he makes all the decisions for us, right? Well, perhaps a less cartoonish, more nuanced view of how things really work comes from Bill Hicks, the comedian. And I would play this little clip for you, but of course I can't because it's copyrighted by Warner Music Group, just as Bill Hicks would have intended. But it's the old skit where he talks about the new president being led into a dark room with 12 of the industrialists who put him into power. The movie screen drops down and they start showing a view of the Kennedy assassination that no one has seen before, from an angle no one has seen before, and there it is, unfolding right before him. There, the president gets shot from the grassy knoll, and the lights come on, and the screen goes back up, and the industrialist asks many questions, and the puppet president just says, "What's my agenda?" And that is a much more apt description of the way that this really works. So the idea that these poor leaders are graying because, the stress of being the establishment teleprompter reader must just be too much for them is ludicrous. But it does leave the question of why this is an actual documentable phenomenon. Why are they aging faster and dying sooner? And let me offer my own perhaps tongue-in-cheek example. I'm not sure if you've read The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. If you haven't, I suggest you do so. I understand there was a Hollywood bastardization of it recently, I guess, but I wouldn't know about that or care about that. I'll put the link into the actual book so that you can read it at Gutenberg.org for free. But the point is that there's this story about this man who, he does not age, but his portrait ages, and he does all of these terrible things, and when he does them, his portrait becomes more and more disgusting and putrid. And at the end of the story, when he ultimately... when the spell is broken and he becomes what the image has been. And maybe that's a sort of metaphor for these presidents. Maybe as they prostitute themselves for the oligarchy, the establishment, the powers behind the throne, they use their beatific smile and their wonderful image to sell the agenda to the public. But as they gain that ring of power and their political facade starts to slip away, the reality comes underneath. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's just a bit silly, but it's an idea. Anyway, this is a real phenomenon, so it's something at least worth thinking about, but it's not because of the stress of being the decider. Obama and Bush and whoever else is not the decider. The buck does not stop there. These are not the people who are directing our society. They are nothing more than establishment, mouthpiece, puppet propagandists who know how to read a teleprompter. James Corbett, CorbettReport.com.